Greetings, one and all, and welcome to Seven Kinds of Mischief. We are back. It is time to freak you out with the scary, the unusual, the strange, the unexplained. And with me tonight is the one, the only Dr. Disaster of Destruction, Adega Outlaw.
Someone is excited to be back. And guess what? Seven Kinds of Mischief on January 7th of a brand new year. It's going to be a good year.
It's going to be a great year. I feel like one of the nerds in Revenge. It's going to be a great year. Holy shit.
I like hearing that new excitement. This year's going to be really good for you.
Yeah.
I see the numbers are growing up. There's all kinds of good things happening.
Man, I really think that we're gonna have a better year than 2020. Everybody out there is gonna have a better year. It's not just gonna be me. It's gonna be everybody.
Yep.
And you know what? Valhalla kicks ass, and I love getting to do this with you guys. I love getting to do this show with you, Adega. It's one of the best.
That's mutual.
Uh-oh. Apparently YouTube is acting weird. How is it acting weird, Chris?
What is YouTube doing?
Who knows? Who knows? So what do we got, brother? What do we got tonight?
Well, actually, I kind of wanted to say a little, it's very odd because you know me, I'm not a numbers guy when it comes to my channel. Hey, Dave. Hey, everybody else. Hello, everyone. For some, I looked and I go, wait, I'm over 300. That is weird because I never publicity, just I got over 300 numbers on my channel. Bizarre. Anyway, if you go there, that was the other thing I wanted to bring up and something I noticed because I'm doing the Blood Witch stuff and I get so many views on it. But when I put up my preview of a new sci-fi book, which is coming out towards the end of the year, not in paperback, but on YouTube, had double the views for a while. People like the sci-fi. But I thought that was cool.
Heck yeah.
Anyway, enough of my personal garbage. I gave Loki a whole mess load of pictures. Now, my report isn't very big this week, but there's a lot of pictures that go along with it. And leave that up. I'm going to give you a little bit of background. This report here is going to go along with the last couple of things that I shared with you. The Cecil Hotel and the odd things that happened there, and with the Rothschilds in their home and the odd things that happened there. And yeah, thanks, Purple. Like I said, it was just odd. I appreciate people coming, but I'm not really a numbers guy when it comes to my channel. Not looking to do anything except practice, but thanks. That building that you see in front of you is called the Dakota. And it was built in the 1800s, a long time ago. And it sits in New York. And you could see that picture there is long before all the other towers and everything else went up. But it was built by the wealthy, housed by the wealthy, the very influential and very, very selective. So selective that people, you have to, if you want to go in and be a resident there, you have to have approval by the board. And the board itself, just to tell you how exclusive it is, it turned down Cher. She couldn't get a place there. Turned down Madonna. Turned down Billy Joel. And someone that maybe you guys know, but I don't, but he was listed on some of these influential people, was a guy named Jed Apatow? I don't know. Either way. He's supposed to be someone important. I can't even pronounce the dang guy's name. And to be honest, too, this report comes from somebody else. This footwork was done by another individual. I just thought it was fascinating, so I was going to share it with you. Interesting thing about this hotel, and not just that it's exclusive, but it has an odd history of very bizarre things happening. And some of you will know, I think all of you know the circumstance, but not necessarily the place. John Lennon, he was one of the few people that were allowed to live there. And he was coming home on December 8th of 1980. There's a picture of John Lennon in there, and a guy that's next to him. You want to pull that picture up? Yeah, there's a lot of pictures there. We'll find it. That one. There he's signing a autograph for that gentleman there. I'm trying to recall what his name was. Mark David Chapman. And those of you who are Beatles fans will know that that was the morning of the picture. That evening when John Lennon came home, that same gentleman was waiting. Shot him in the back 4 times with a .38 and killed him right in front of the hotel. I think I gave you some other pictures about... no, there's just one other picture. It has the gates of the hotel, not that one. Yeah, you guys can get a preview of where we're going tonight. That's what it looked like. I know for some reason my mind, the cops didn't look the same, the automobiles didn't look the same, but that's the 80s, and that's the way it was back in 1980. But that hotel has a lot of sordid mystery or history, like we talked about the Cecil Hotel where Amy had ended up in a water tank, and Charles Manson was there, and there was the other murderer. Well, this place has the same idea, and it's very, very exclusive. There was talk of, and it was in a movie as well, about twin sisters that used to eat children. But it was also the place of a scene of a movie. And this is where we're going to start tying into some of the things that we did before. Some of you know the movie called Rosemary's Baby. There are a few people, more than a few, I should say, that call this movie probably one of the greatest scary thriller movies of all time. This is a New Year's Eve scene. I want you to kind of remember that. We can come back to it, maybe not. Oh, this is incidental too. The movie was made in 66, and the dress and the flowers and the symbolism, and that dress happens to be associated with a lot of dark magic and black and satanic things. And look who's wearing it when she brings out her child at St. Mary's 2 years ago. I don't know. It was 18. I guess it's longer than that. 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago. For the life of me, I can't remember the name of that royal, but I'm sure some of you will. Well, let's go ahead and get into it. Rosemary's Baby. The creator of the movie is a man by the name of, infamously, and yet Hollywood still seems to love him, Roman Polanski. Dirtbag, as most of you know. He happened to be living in France right now because when he was here in America, he drugged a little girl and raped her. I used the R word, sorry. He did some horrible things to a little girl because he drugged her. But it was almost exactly a year before he married. We'll save that one for later. These all tie together. They will tie together. Yeah, you can go back to the beach scene. I gave them to him in order. They just jumbled up because of numbering. Sorry. That's not the beach scene. Almost there. There we go. That's Roland Pulaski and his wife named Sharon Tate. And a couple years before that, Sharon Tate was known for starring in a movie called Eye of the Devil by MGM. That movie, and she even admits it, was her rite or ritual to join the Church of Satan. She was initiated into it and married Roman Polanski and promptly became pregnant. And before the year was out, she ended up dead. Those of you who know the story of Charles Manson, parts of it you may not know. Charles Manson, of course, he had his followers and they were in LA and they killed a lot of people. And at one point, Roman Polanski decided, I'm going to Europe for a week. And they followed a wire transfer of $50,000 of an unknown location from Europe that went to Canada down to I can't remember the state in California. And then out of that $50,000, $2,000 directly traced to Charles Manson, who said, we were instructed to go to this house and kill the 5 people in the black and white photo. That's you, Loki. I'm looking for that. There's a photo of the 5 people. All those other ones are, there it is. You can see Tate there towards the left. And there's also a newspaper. You don't have to pull it up if you don't want to, but it's in there. There's newspaper articles. There was a lot of things that showed that this was not, it's right there, slain in a ritual. The thing about it is, and from some of her friends, they said she wanted to get out of the darkness, out of the satanic stuff. But instead, she ended up tied by an ankle at the end of a rope with her hands behind her back and bled out.
True, wasn't she stabbed like 90 times?
That came later, but yeah. Everything was done, and it wasn't just a vengeful thing. It was, they said it was ritual. The police at the time held nothing back. They said this was a satanic ritual. She was murdered for Satan. And then here's where the tie-in starts to come in. There was a phrase put on the door called Helter Skelter. Of course, that was a Beatles song. We're going to have to work on having these in order in the future. Yeah. For the life of me, I never knew what the word helter skelter meant. But I looked it up, and it's an English term meaning a downward slide, a spiral slide. Very symbolic of the trip down to hell. And of course, the Beatles had done that song called Helter Skelter. It was redone later on. Some of these pictures are just incidental. I want you to start putting 2 and 2 together. I know there's Beatle fans out there, but you remember we saw the Rothschilds and their dinner party and the disembodied baby heads and bodies and parts and things, and John Lennon ended up dead. Well, that place where he ended up dead, it was years before, in 1966, when Rosemary's Baby was made. There was one of the actresses, her name in this movie was Terry, and she was supposed to be the person that Mia Shriver's character was supposed to replace in the movie. She didn't want to be part of the ritual. And so I don't have a picture of that, sorry. So they ended up in the movie, they killed her, and they claimed for the movie it was a suicide, but everyone knew that it was a ritual. But her body in the movie, because they filmed it on location at the Dakota, was in the exact same spot where John Lennon, Helter Skelter, ended up. Bled out. Kind of a big coincidence. Some people think not. But we'll leave that there. I missed what she said. I was looking at my notes.
Oh, they spelt it wrong on the wall. The Helter Skelter.
Right.
The Helter Skelter, not Helter.
Oh, they were so stoned out of their gourds as well, so you never know.
Yeah, that's what was it Manson that talked about that? How they were all bombed when they went and did that?
Oh yeah. Now let's get into some of the interesting coincidences. There is a news article there. I didn't give you the picture because I didn't think it was really that important. That one. But there's a close-up picture that they have of the lady there on the left. I drank Sharon Tate's blood. That person, let me see if I could find her name. Susan Atkins was her name, a follower of Manson. But guess who else she was a follower of? Someone that we talked about before, a man by the name of Anton LaVey, the creator of the Church of Satan. She worked for him. She learned the rituals from him. Let's see. Also, LaVey, not only did he play part in other movies, but in this one, he was a consultant for Rosemary's Baby on how to do rituals, because those of you who've seen it know that there's some black magic. Yeah, LaVey's right there. He also played the devil in that movie. Now, you see Sammy Davis Jr. there? There's interviews. You can look them up. This is all circular logic, but it all ties together, and I'm trying to put it together in a cohesive package for you. I've had a busy couple weeks. It hasn't been sitting down my laurels, so I'm trying to put this all together. Anyway, you'll have recordings. You could find him where he actually talks about how he was a member of the Church of Satan, and he thought that that's where his success came from. And just like Sharon Tate, she thought that Satan was beautiful. And he was a member of what's called the Rat Pack. And one of other person in the Rat Pack, he's clicking through. There he is.
I know I've got it. There we go. Rat Pack.
Yep. You guys know who the one is on the left?
Oh, yeah. That's Frankie Boy.
Frank. Yep. Now, in recent years, there have been people come out saying that he was a handler for mind control and slavery. And he was also married to the one and only Mia, the actress for Rosemary's Baby, and was we're jumping around. This is fun. There it is. He has his hand on her neck the same way that Roman Podolaski had his hand around the neck of his wife,
Sharon Tate.
Yep. Sorry, I got so many notes in front of me trying to make this cohesive for you. But here we have, I'll try and wrap it up before we get into the finishing touches of this. A hotel that was matched for a movie. There was a movie made where the actress was drugged and forced to have a child and given up for satanic ritual. And there was a person before that who died on the spot, the same place where John Lennon died. The actress for that is married to a known possible Satanist, but definitely a mind control handler. The person who shot John Lennon also had when they caught him, he just sat down and started reading a book called The Catcher in the Rye, which for those of you who know about mind control, I'm sure Lord Thoth would be able to, I don't want to get too much into what he's done, but he would be able to attest that it is a mind control book. Someone who has gone through the training and the conditioning someone would hand you that book, you automatically click from one personality to another, similar like they do with monarch butterflies or bunny rabbits or things like that. And he was sitting there reading The Catcher of the Rye, a trigger that told him this is what he had to do. And there along comes Tate, who marries Polanski, thinks life's cheery, gonna have a baby. Polanski wants to murder the child in the satanic ritual, the way he's been trained. She wanted to get out, and instead of being able to get out, he hires Manson and his group and takes care of the issue. I just wanted to bring this up to let you guys know that, it isn't a one-time incident. These things are put right in front of your face, included in the movie where I showed you, or Loki showed you that one picture of the dinner party where there was a lady sitting on the bench or on a couch. And she had, and this is symbolic because they understand that, the witch's hat, though it's pink, and a black cat and a black dress with a leather, or not a leather, a lace collar, similar to the lace collars that we see elsewhere, only with red dresses. They put it in your faces, just like they did with Eyes Wide Shut. Loki was telling me about another, what was it, somewhere, was it Another Time in Hollywood? What was the name of the movie?
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Tarantino's last movie.
Right.
That is about Sharon Tate and basically like an alternate history of what happened with Sharon Tate. How she would, because I'm not going to ruin it for anybody who actually wants to watch it, who hasn't seen it, but really good movie. They basically, because Tarantino inserts his characters into that history, it changes history, kind of like the way they did with Inglourious Bastards.
Right. Now, before I wrap it up, to show you all this symbolism that's right in your face from Hollywood, doing all these horrible things that you probably never thought about, but yet they'd love to stick it right in your face and make it entertaining for you. There's one more picture. It is of a song, lyrics, done by a Joanne Baez. It was a popular song at the time. This all ties in. The name of the song was called Play Me Backwards, which also had backwards symbols. And remember when we talked about the Rothschilds and their dinner menu was written backwards. Their invitations were written backwards. And this song was meant to also be heard partially backwards. And here in the song, it talks about, she said was probably her, there's rumors and also tales that she said this came from reality. Let the night begin. There's a pop of skin and the sudden rush of scarlet. There's a little boy riding a goat's head, and some of you will know what that means, and a little girl playing the harlot, which is the unfortunate part, which some of you know also. There is a sacrifice in an empty church, which is a place where these people like to perform their rituals, of a sweet little baby Rose, Rosemary's baby. And a man in a mask from Mexico is peeling off my clothes. They stick it in your face every day. It's not all of them. But in case you guys didn't believe one story, 2 story, 3 story, I have more. We'll save them for another time. That's it.
Thank you, brother. That is... The parallels with all of that is frightening. Absolutely frightening.
Yep.
And disturbing. That's.
What do you think about it? They pick places that are haunted places. They do rituals that are the same, whether Eyes Wide Shut, Rosemary's Baby, are all the same. They do the same thing over and over. The real life incidences always occur after the movies. And the people involved all have high influence, all have money, all talk about blood, disembodied children, the baby dolls with the heads removed. I can get into, one of these days I'll do Kobe Bryant. You're going to love that one.
Oh, shit.
Yep. Anyway, it's there over and over and over and over again. Once, twice, maybe a coincidence, but it keeps on going? No, not at all.
All right, guys. Tonight I have got a story for you all. This was written by Tobias Wade over on Creepypasta. And it is called My Wives Don't Get Along. Have you ever wanted to love someone, but you couldn't? That's how I felt about Tammy. We never should have gotten together in the first place, but it was her birthday, and I didn't know what I was getting myself into. She invited all of us from work down to a bar, and I was expecting to have a drink and go home. Fast forward half an hour, and we're all supposed to meet up, and every time her phone buzzed, I knew it was another person canceling at the last minute. But she was glowing with warmth that wasn't dampened by her disappointment, and I had nowhere else to be. And hours can melt together so fast when you found someone to be lonely with. Tammy blamed herself for how the party turned out in a vicious, self-deprecating way that left me scampering to reassure her. And the harder she was on herself, the kinder I was to her. Until somehow, without meaning to, I called her beautiful. Because I couldn't bear her thinking otherwise for another minute. The way her face lit up in response was proof that I wasn't lying. And the way she smiled back made me feel like it was the first time she'd ever really believed those words. Tammy stayed close to me as we were leaving together, close enough to feel her breath on my neck. Then her arms were wrapped around my arm, and her warmth wasn't just something to be imagined anymore. Just to keep her balanced, she said, but no amount of studying herself was enough for her to let go. She'd been drinking after all and needed someone to drive her home for the night. I think she really was beautiful that night. The more of her she trusted me to see, the more beautiful she became. But love wasn't her fault that she came to love me. It wasn't my fault that I couldn't feel the same way about her. The starving man doesn't care what he eats, though. The lonely will cling to anyone who makes them forget what it's like to be alone. Tammy and I stayed together, and the phrase, maybe this is what love is supposed to feel like, kept hopping up in my head. Tammy treated me with devotion and smothered me with kindness. And the longer we stayed together, the harder it became to imagine my life being any other way. Tammy would do anything to keep me, and she reminded me every day that she would. I can think of no better way to thank her than with everything I had to give. She was nothing but joy on the day I asked her to marry me. And basking in that light, I told myself that her happiness would be enough for the both of us for all the years of our lives. Then there was my other wife. The one with the shaved head, the one with the nose ring, the leather jacket, and the tattoo of a snake twisting from one thigh to the next. I don't know if you could call Zara beautiful. Certainly not the same way you could call Tammy. But you could call her other names, and they'd all turn her on. I met Zara in another town where my company headquarters was. I had to go there once a month, every month, but it didn't take long before I found an excuse to go every weekend instead. Tammy was pregnant. I wasn't proud about what I was doing, but neither was I ashamed, because any guilt I should have felt was a drop in the ocean compared to what I felt for Zara. Zara was everything I'd never known I'd wanted. She was wild, unrestrained, insatiable. She was a witch who put me under her spell, a demon who had claimed my soul. These are the types of excuses I'd tell myself whenever the guilt began to crawl up my spine. When I'd hold Tammy at night, I'd tell myself stories of all the mad things men had ever done for love. I'd put myself in their noble company. When I fell asleep, I'd dream of being back with the girl whose touch was fire. Weekend was never enough to spend with Sarah. Every time was harder to leave than the last. I could leave Tammy with the child, though. The anxious worry that this had to end began eating away at me night and day. I kept them both a secret from one another. swinging back and forth, barely trusting myself to call one by name without my tongue betraying me with the other. The more the pressure grew, the more insecure and defensive I became, till one day, by surprise, Sarah told me she was jealous of my time. She didn't want me to leave again. She wanted to be my wife. And fool that I was, I told her that I wanted the same. It wasn't a very official wedding. Zara wasn't into that sort of thing. Our hands were clasped in the forest and our feet were in the stream when I placed a ring upon her finger. My life as I knew it ended forever, and I couldn't imagine anything but happiness to come. I told myself then that I would make one last trip to end things with Tammy. She'd be better off alone. I wanted to believe than with someone who didn't need her anymore. I would do my part and help with the baby. I wouldn't need much money because nothing I could buy would fill my heart the way holding Zara did. Tammy would cry, but I wouldn't break. And in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, when I'm old and gray with shaking hands, I'd hold Zara all the tighter, knowing that I was almost too weak to follow my heart. And maybe that's how it would have gone if Zara hadn't followed me back. She thought she would surprise me by making the trip to help me move. She thought she was being clever by calling my work and pretending to be a client, setting up a meeting at my home. How could she have known that Tammy was home? Well, I'd be gone to the store to pick up some things for our newborn baby. The police were home before I was. The weeping young mother and the screaming punk. It was hard for them to figure out what had happened. The knife-slashed curtains, the shattered plates. There must have been one hell of a fight to be loud enough for the neighbors to call the cops. The blood-stained carpet and the dirty tracks to the nursery. There was no way to hide it or mistake what had happened to my daughter, who was slashed to ribbons before she'd ever learned her name. Zara and I never spoke again, not even at her trial where I was called as a witness. I couldn't meet her eyes when I told the jury about the affair, that I loved her, that I knew it was wrong. I told them that Sarah had been jealous, that she'd killed my daughter, and I never wanted to see her again. The only thing that could have been harder to bear was when Tammy forgave me. She said it wasn't my fault, that I'd made a mistake, that we could learn to be happy together again. And I believed her, because as heavy as the weight was for me to bear, I knew I couldn't bear to be alone. That was almost 20 years ago. Tammy and I have moved past it the best we could. We had 2 more children, both boys, and I'm glad for that, because if it had been a girl, I don't think I could have ever looked at her without thinking about the child I'd lost. Tammy can still love me after all that, and who am I to say I can't love her in return? Despite everything I'd done to avoid being alone, though, I know that it's only a matter of time. You see, Tammy is sick. She isn't going to get any better. I've been spending every day at my wife's side, and our youngest will be leaving to college in a few weeks. Then it's just going to be me and my regrets, thinking about the words Tammy said to me last night. I told you, she said. I told you I'd do anything to keep you. And I did. If you didn't think Zara killed our daughter, you never would have stayed with me. I had to do it, don't you see? We've made each other so happy through these long years. I always knew I never loved her, but it's taken me an entire lifetime to find out why. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is My Wives Don't Get Along, written by Tobias Wade over on Creepypasta. I caught someone said, did you Del says, Haruna, Loki, did you rehearse this? This is coming so effortlessly. This is amazing. I just read it once and I didn't like read it out loud. I just read it and was like, oh my God, I love it. I got to the end and I was like, holy shit, I absolutely love this. And that was about an hour and a half before the show. So
no, that's what practice, acting school, and just being dang talented does for you. He can read that stuff.
As long as I get a little feel for like where it's going, you know, I read through something once, I won't practice and practice. So I read through it once, get an idea of what I'm supposed to do, and just do it. I think that's better than going over something over and over and over and over and over again. But when I read that at the end there, and I was like, holy shit, she did it. That crazy bitch did it to hold on to him. To hold on to him, that crazy bitch did that. That's insane. And that's I've heard about it. You've seen it. There are stories about it. There are cases. There was that chick in Florida. I can't remember her name. She was on the news the whole time. Had the little girl that ended up going missing and had to go to trial, and creepy as shit. The things people will do.
No doubt. No doubt.
Well, this was absolutely awesome. I love this. I absolutely love getting to do this again. Adega, we got to do this again next week.
Oh, absolutely. I was going to ask, and if anybody, now I'll always come up with something. Don't worry about that. You know, as long as circumstances around my house and with my health and everything hold up, I will be here, break a leg. But there's probably some of you out there that have nagging questions that need some research done about any type of topic that relates to this dark stuff. Now, if it's stuff that deals with, UFOs or what do they call them? Cryptids, or, you know, those type of things, I'm not going to mess with that here. This is all on the dark stuff and the twisted and the surprise ending stuff. And if you have something you want me to look up, then either put it on one of my videos in the chat there, or if you can find me on some other medium, go right ahead and do that. Oh, I see some money come in for
from Mexican Iron Man. I'm excited to hear your soft narrator voice, Loki. Oh, thank you, Mexican Iron Man. Reminds me of Echo Base's coach, sensitive and caring. Why I love Star Wars voice. Loki like a warm blanket. We do have warm blankets in the Teespring store. So yes, thank you so very much, Mexican Iron Man. And score!
Spartans! What is your profession?
Maybe I should come up with a scary one for these scary for Thursday nights.
I got some ideas.
Shit. Oh, yeah. Well, guys, everyone take care. We will be back tomorrow morning with Cobra Kai. We are going to have a Cobra Kai panel and talk about this last season of Cobra Kai. We're going to have a Paulie from Latino Slant. We're going to have Eris of Chaos. We are going to have Jedi Bill 797. We're going to have Mexican Iron Man. We're going to have Purple Valkyrie. We're going to have them all. Tomorrow morning, we're going to talk Cobra Kai and close out the week talking about something epic. epic good series that actually cares about the past and cares about what came before it. If anybody else wants to be on that, you let me know.
If I was a morning person, I would, because martial arts and Karate Kid, yeah, I was all about that.
Yeah, look, I always look, I. Oh, man. All right, Adega, you have a great one, brother. Thank you so much for being here. Everyone have a great night, and we will catch you guys next Thursday.
Good night, Valhalla.
Good night.
These videos are tremendous. Like, comment, and subscribe, and hammer that notification bell.